Aspen and I had a long discussion about us having a relationship, not filtered through my view of her mother or her mother's view of me.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into some big drama at Coyote Pass. You've probably heard whispers, rumors, and maybe even some gossip online. But what's really going on? Let's break it down in a way that's easy to understand. Coyote Pass is a place you might know from the show Sister Wives. It's where the Browns have lived, worked, and, well, where a lot of secrets have built up over the years. Imagine living in a big house with lots of people, but behind closed doors, not everything is as it seems. That's where this story begins. Let's start with the main players. Kody Brown is at the center, of course. But this isn't just about him. There's Janelle, Christine, Mary, and Robyn, the wives. And while fans might focus on Kody, some real surprises happen when you see how everyone around him reacts, what they say, and the choices they make. So here's what happened. Recently, Janelle made a huge decision that shook everyone at Coyote Pass. She decided she didn't want cameras following her anymore. Yep, she literally told the production team, "I'm done." That may not sound like a big deal, but if you think about it, these cameras have been part of her life for more than a decade. Walking away is like saying, "I want to take my story back, and you won't see all of it anymore." But why did she do it? That's where the drama starts. See, for years, Janelle was balancing a tricky life: family, kids, public image, and her own feelings about polygamy. She had moments where she questioned everything: her choices, her marriage, and even the life she had been living. And now, by kicking out the cameras, she was finally putting herself first. Fans online have been trying to figure out how Kody reacted. Some say he was shocked. Some say he didn't even know it was coming. And if you look closer, it makes you wonder, was there something he was hiding, or something he didn't expect at all? Here's where it gets even more interesting. Janelle didn't just remove the cameras. She went to church leaders to ask for a release from Kody. This is a formal process in their faith that allows someone to end their spiritual marriage. And while most people would think, okay, that's normal if you want to move on, in their world, it's huge. You see, these spiritual ties are supposed to last forever, or at least that's what many believe. Imagine having to sit in a room with church leaders and explain why you want out. That's intense. Maddie, Janelle's daughter, was right there with her, and she called it toxic. Maddie worried, "What if they don't release you, Mom?" And that's a question that could shake anyone. Here's the strange part. The family doesn't even follow all the church rules anymore. They drink, swear, and live their lives freely in many ways. Yet, there's this one thing. A lingering tie to the old rules that still pulls at them. It's like a string wrapped around your heart, and you can't cut it completely no matter how hard you try. Janelle's request was granted, by the way. But Kody's story changed the moment it happened. Suddenly, he claimed that he couldn't ask for a release himself. Before, he'd acted like it wasn't important. Now he was saying something totally different. Fans online noticed, and eyebrows were raised. What was really going on in his mind? Some people say he still believed deep down that these marriages matter forever, even if the real-life marriage is over. And that raises the big question. Who's really in charge at Coyote Pass? Kody, Janelle, the church? Or is it someone behind the scenes pulling the strings that nobody sees? Here's a hint. Sometimes the person who seems calm on the outside might be plotting the biggest move of all. And when it comes to Coyote Pass, you can bet that nothing is as simple as it seems. Now think about this. When Janelle walked away from the cameras, she didn't just take her privacy back. She sent a message that said, "I choose myself. I choose my family. I choose my life." And in the world of Coyote Pass, that's a statement louder than any argument, fight, or dramatic scene ever shown on TV. But there's more. This decision had ripple effects. Christine and Mary, two other wives, have been navigating their own choices. Christine has been telling her story with honesty, finally unpacking some of the trauma and mistakes from the past. Mary, on the other hand, has been quietly rebuilding her life, even exploring new relationships. And Robyn? Well, she's the one who remains in the house with Kody, and fans often wonder, how much control does she really have over what's happening? So far, we've looked at the people making big moves. But there's another layer, the rumors and fan theories. Every time someone makes a choice at Coyote Pass, speculation spreads like wildfire online. Who's secretly influencing Kody? Did Janelle have help making her bold move? Is Robyn really as innocent as she seems? Fans debate every small gesture, every comment, every Instagram post. And honestly, that's part of the story too. In a family that's been filmed for over a decade, it's impossible to separate the public drama from the private decisions. Every choice has layers. Every action has meaning. And sometimes, the most surprising twists happen when the cameras aren't even rolling. We're just getting started. But here's what you need to remember. At Coyote Pass, the biggest secrets are often the ones nobody talks about. Who's really pulling the strings? That's the mystery. And it's one that could change everything fans thought they knew about the Brown family. All right, now that we've set the stage, let's dive even deeper. After Janelle kicked out the cameras and got her release, the next big question was, how did Kody react behind the scenes? On camera, he tried to stay calm, but fans watching closely could see little hints. His words, his gestures, even the way he looked at Janelle, showed that he wasn't entirely okay. Some people think Kody felt humiliated. Imagine being told, "You don't control this anymore," when you're used to being the head of the household. That's exactly how this might have felt for him. And in a house like Coyote Pass, where every action has meaning, losing control can spark tension quickly. Meanwhile, Janelle's decision also affected the other wives. Christine, for instance, has been living her life with her husband David Woolley and seems much happier. She's talking openly about the past, about the times she felt hurt, overlooked, or even manipulated. And fans can see a clear difference between her now and who she was during the early seasons of Sister Wives. Mary, Kody's first wife, is quietly moving on too. She's exploring new relationships, reconnecting with friends, and building a life that doesn't revolve around the drama of the Brown family. For her, the cameras stepping away for Janelle is probably a relief. Without the constant filming, everyone can finally breathe a little easier and live life more freely. But Robyn, the remaining wife living at Coyote Pass, is in the middle of it all. Fans often debate her role in the family drama. Some say she has the most influence because she's the only one left with Kody in the house. Others argue that she might just be trying to keep peace while navigating her own feelings. One thing is clear. In a house with long histories, secret alliances, and deep feelings, it's never as simple as it looks. Now let's talk about the rumors. When big moves like Janelle's happen, fans online start asking questions. Did she have help? Was there a plan behind the scenes? Could Robyn or Kody have predicted this? Some fans think there's a secret strategy at play. Others believe it's just Janelle taking her own path. The truth? It's probably a mix of both. In a house where every action can ripple across decades of family history, even a small decision can feel like a huge chess move. And here's another layer, the emotional side of it. For Janelle, leaving the cameras doesn't just mean privacy, it means healing. She's been living under constant scrutiny for more than 15 years. Imagine your every word, every smile, every disagreement being broadcast for millions to see. That's a lot of pressure. Now she can focus on herself, her kids, and figuring out who she is without the cameras shaping the story. Kody's struggle is different. He's still trying to understand his place in all this. For years, he was the center of the Brown family universe. The cameras followed him, the wives responded to him, and fans debated his every move. Now, he has to adjust to a world where not everything revolves around him, and that's not easy. At the same time, the church plays a role in the drama too. Even though the family doesn't follow all the rules strictly anymore, there's still a connection. Getting a spiritual release isn't just paperwork, it's recognition of a major life change. Janelle's release meant that she could move forward without worrying about being spiritually tied to Kody. For someone like Kody, who still thinks about these ties, that might feel like losing a piece of control he didn't even realize he had. Fans also notice symbolism everywhere. Even when Janelle walked into what looked like a church in Salt Lake City for her release, the footage wasn't literal, it was symbolic. But symbolism is powerful. It tells a story that words can't fully capture. It's about freedom, about choosing yourself, and about stepping into a life where you call the shots. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. This isn't just one woman leaving cameras behind. It's a story about choices, influence, and power. Who really pulls the strings at Coyote Pass? Sometimes it looks like Kody. Sometimes it looks like the church. Sometimes it looks like Robyn. But more and more, it seems like it's the wives themselves, making decisions, taking control, and reshaping their lives. And here's a fun fact. The online fan community has become part of the story too. Every move by a Brown family member is dissected, analyzed, and debated. Social media adds another layer of strings being pulled. Fans can create drama with their comments, theories, and posts. And when a decision like Janelle's happens, the speculation explodes, making the story even more tangled. The real lesson? In families like this, the person who seems most powerful may not actually be in charge. Sometimes it's the quiet, unexpected choices, like Janelle stepping away, that change everything. That one decision can ripple through relationships, reputations, and even the hearts of everyone involved. So far, we've seen Janelle taking her life back by kicking out the cameras, Kody struggling with losing control and understanding the release, Christine and Mary thriving in their own ways, Robyn navigating her role in the remaining household fans and social media fueling speculation. And yet, the biggest question still lingers. If Janelle, Kody, and the church aren't truly in control, then who is? Who's really pulling the strings at Coyote Pass? Is it fate, luck, timing, or just people making choices that others have to react to? The answer might surprise you. Often, the strings aren't in one person's hands. They're everywhere. Every action, every emotion, every small choice creates consequences. And the bigger the house, the more complicated the web becomes. Now, let's zoom in even closer. Behind all the cameras, fan theories, and social media buzz, there are hidden stories that most people don't see. For example, Janelle's decision to step away didn't happen overnight. It took months of thinking, planning, and realizing her own power. And in a house like Coyote Pass, even thinking about independence can feel like a huge act of courage. Some fans online are convinced that Robyn had a role in Janelle's decision. Why? Because Robyn is still living in the house with Kody, and she has a relationship with him that fans say gives her influence. Could she have encouraged Janelle to take control of her own life, quietly supporting her? Or did she stay neutral, letting Janelle figure it out herself? That's one of those mysteries that makes this story so fascinating. Meanwhile, Kody is watching everything like a hawk. He may act calm in public, but behind the scenes, he's trying to understand how so many things slipped out of his control. Remember, for decades, he was the center of this polygamous universe. Every decision seemed to circle back to him. Now, one wife stepping away, another thriving elsewhere, and a third quietly managing the household. Kody isn't the main string puller anymore. And that brings us to the kids. The Brown children are watching, learning, and reacting. Some are adults, some are teenagers, and each one is processing the drama differently. They've grown up in a world where cameras recorded almost everything. Their reality isn't just family, it's also public opinion. When Janelle stepped away, it wasn't just her life that changed. The kids had to adjust too. Fans online also have their own strings. Every post, comment, and theory can influence how people see the Browns. On Reddit, one fan thread went viral. It suggested that Kody's apology tour, meeting with Janelle, Christine, and Mary, was actually a way for him to regain control, not necessarily to show genuine remorse. People argued that if Kody controlled the narrative even slightly, he could appear sympathetic while keeping his image intact. Then there's the church's subtle influence. Even though the Browns don't strictly follow all the rules anymore, the church still shapes their decisions. Spiritual releases, moral expectations, and past beliefs all create invisible strings that affect behavior. For Janelle, asking for a release was both a freedom move and a spiritual checkpoint. She wasn't just walking away from Kody. She was walking away from decades of rules, traditions, and unseen pressures. Fans also speculate about secret alliances. Some believe that Mary, Christine, and Janelle coordinate quietly, supporting each other from behind the camera. Others think the wives act independently, each navigating her own path. Either way, the effect is the same. Kody's control is shrinking, and the wives are the true decision-makers. And don't forget the timing. Janelle's departure comes right after the tragic loss of Garrison Brown in 2024, the death of one of Kody and Janelle's children. That event reshaped family dynamics, emotions, and priorities. It may have accelerated her decision to step away. When life reminds you how fragile it is, sometimes you stop worrying about other people's expectations and focus on your own well-being. Fans are also watching how reunion shows and specials add fuel to the drama. Every question asked, every clip aired, and every reaction shown has a subtle effect. Producers know that viewers love tension, so the way they edit conversations can make someone look more emotional, more angry, or more secretive than they actually are. That's why the strings aren't just in the family, they're in the editing room too. And here's a twist. Even when the cameras are gone, the influence lingers. Janelle may be free of filming, but Kody, Robyn, and the others still live in that world. Old habits, expectations, and memories are like invisible strings tugging at everyone. You can step away from the camera, but you can't immediately step away from the patterns of decades of family life. Now, think about this from a fan's perspective. You've watched these people for years. You've seen happiness, heartbreak, arguments, celebrations, and failures. Then suddenly, one of the central figures, Janelle, removes herself from the story. It feels shocking, like the chessboard shifted and no one knows who's moving the pieces anymore. That's exactly the emotional punch this episode delivers. So, who's really pulling the strings at Coyote Pass? The answer isn't simple. It's Janelle, for claiming her freedom, Kody, for trying to maintain influence, Robyn, for navigating her remaining role, the church, for providing subtle rules and guidance, the kids, for learning and reacting to changes, producers and editors, for shaping the story, fans, for analyzing, theorizing, and spreading ideas online. In other words, everyone has a string in this story, and the drama comes from how these strings overlap, tangle, and sometimes snap. What's amazing is that the Brown family is still growing and changing despite years of filming. People think reality TV captures real life, but here, life and cameras interact in complicated ways. When a major decision like Janelle's release happens, the ripple effect is huge, and fans are still talking about it months later. Now, let's bring it all together. After months of tension, speculation, and emotional ups and downs, the story of Coyote Pass begins to settle, but not without some lessons and surprises. Janelle stepping away was a huge moment. It wasn't just about leaving Kody or the cameras. It was about reclaiming her identity. For the first time in decades, she could ask herself, "Who am I when nobody is watching?" And that question, simple as it sounds, had enormous power. It gave her space to think, heal, and plan her future. Kody, on the other hand, had to face reality. His carefully maintained control over the family and the narrative was slipping. He realized that apologizing, meeting the wives, or trying to repair relationships couldn't give him back the past. He couldn't force anyone to stay under his influence. That's a hard lesson for someone who had been the center of this polygamous universe for so long. Robyn's role also became clearer. She stayed in the house, living with Kody, but she quietly allowed others to take their paths. Fans wondered if she was manipulating things behind the scenes, but Robyn seemed to focus more on stability for her children and her own place in the family. Sometimes, the most powerful influence is silence and presence, not constant control. Meanwhile, the kids were learning in real time what it means to grow up in a complicated family. They saw that adults can make mistakes, that relationships can change, and that freedom and self-respect are just as important as loyalty and tradition. For many fans, watching the children navigate this was an emotional highlight, proof that even in messy situations, growth and resilience are possible. The church, too, continued to play a subtle role. Even though Janelle received her release, the history of beliefs and teachings influenced decisions. It reminded everyone that systems and traditions can hold invisible power, even when people are physically free. Producers and editors shaped the story, highlighting moments of tension, surprise, and reconciliation. But beyond the drama, viewers saw real human experiences, heartbreak, courage, and self-discovery. This is what made the season so gripping. Fans weren't just watching reality TV. They were witnessing real people navigating life, love, and freedom. And the fans themselves played a role. By discussing theories, commenting on posts, and speculating online, viewers influenced how the story was remembered. Social media became a place where tiny details, gestures, or words were analyzed endlessly. Every like or comment contributed to the ongoing narrative. The Brown family wasn't just living their lives, they were living in the court of public opinion. At the end of the day, the main lesson from this season is clear. Freedom and self-discovery often come with courage. Janelle's decision to step away, Kody's forced reflection, and the wives' individual growth all demonstrate that life is about making choices that honor your heart and your truth. Sometimes, that means breaking free from old habits, old relationships, and old expectations. Fans were left with many questions. Will Janelle continue to live quietly and focus on herself? How will Kody adjust to a life where he no longer controls the story? What will Robyn and the children do next? Even though cameras aren't everywhere, life at Coyote Pass continues, and with every decision, the invisible strings shift. Ultimately, the drama teaches viewers about resilience, honesty, and empowerment. Even in a complicated family, even with cameras and public opinion, individuals can make choices that reflect their true selves. For Janelle, that meant stepping away. For Kody, it meant learning humility. For fans, it meant seeing that the story isn't just about entertainment. It's about people learning, healing, and moving forward. And the final takeaway? The real power isn't always in the spotlight. It's in quiet courage, thoughtful decisions, and the strength to say, "This is my life. I choose my path." The cameras may have captured some moments, but the true story of Coyote Pass is about the people behind the drama, the choices they make, and the invisible strings that shape their lives. And now, for the first time in years, some of those strings are finally cut.